Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go over four different things that you may or may not be aware of within Canvas. So the first one is Big Blue Button, which is a more it's a chat feature like Zoom, but it's a little bit more robust.
John and I actually were discussing this
Okay.
a couple
What were
months
you guys
back.
talking about with Big Blue Button?
Well, yeah, neither one of us have used it.
Okay, so over on your left-hand side, if you want to get into one of your own Canvas courses, you can follow along if you like. You don't have to.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just follow you.
Okay, so over here on your left-hand side, you'll see Big Blue Button, and then you can choose what's called a conference. And you can put in your information for the conference,
Okay.
duration. You could add it to a calendar, enable waiting room. And in those ways, it's very similar to Zoom. So if I hit create, and then I go into the conference, the features that you may be interested in are the fact that there is live polling down here at the bottom. It's a way if you were doing a lecture online to be able to not only have that presentation up on the screen, but to be able to show multiple videos along with that. And then, as you can see over on the left-hand side, there's the collaboration feature, which you can use with your students.
Oh, cool. So this would be like I could use this in lieu of Zoom for a live synchronous session.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And you can share your screen on here and everything?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So, yep, you got screen sharing, breakout rooms, some of the same things that you have within Zoom, but just a little bit more as far as
would there be a reason
creativity.
to use this to record a lecture just by myself rather than using Zoom?
Yes, you could absolutely do that. You could record on your own, and then you could have that for students to be able to view at a later time. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so that is a little bit about Big Blue Button. We're going to go back here. Give me just a second to take a look at my notes. All right. Next, we're going to go over discussions.
Which I do use a lot of.
Okay. Main things I would say about discussions that you need to be aware of, you may already be aware of this, are a few different things. You have this option here, users must post before seeing replies. And the reason this is important is so that you don't have students who are just copying from other students. So that way you see the post before other students are going to be able to see the post, and that just provides better discussion back and forth.
That makes sense.
So that's a good option to keep in mind.
What about the podcast feed? I kind of wondered about that.
I haven't used the podcast feed a whole lot, but there is that option here where you could, up here within your options, you could upload a audio file as part of the discussion.
Click that sometimes because I thought, well, sometimes I tell students they can share a video. So I didn't know if that had to be clicked for them to share a video or not, but I haven't done that before.
Yes. So they can share a video, they can share an MP3 file. That's another way that they can interact back and forth with each other.
Okay.
And those are really the main things to keep in mind about discussions. And
isn't this always on a student to-do list? It says add to student to-do.
What was that?
I'm seeing add to student to-do. I don't feel like that's been on my list of options. Doesn't that always happen anyway? It kind of goes on there.
No, as far as notifications, if that is not clicked or the availability or until date is not added, then it's not going to show up in the same way for students to be able to recognize that as something that they have to do. So, good question. Hold on just a minute. All right, so that is discussions. Let's talk about rubrics. How familiar are you with rubrics?
Well, in my current class, I have a module with all of my rubrics because I find this rubrics tab not very efficient. I feel like it takes me too long. So I've kind of created my own and just put them in a module.
Okay, okay. So what do you find difficult about them?
I just felt like it was,
Kind of rigid?
yeah, I felt like it just was easier for me if I wanted to be creative with it, just to do my own thing. But
Okay.
I think that was me just starting that and going, okay, this is stupid. I'm just gonna make my own. So I probably could have given it more time, but I did not, to be perfectly honest.
Okay. Well, what I can tell you is that you do have the ability to be able to change all of the criteria here and to be able to add on extra criteria. So if you didn't want this to be 5 points or 0 points, you could easily change any of this information here. So you could change your rating score, description if you wanted to, and the total amount of points. And another thing along with this, and this was going to actually be the fourth topic I was going to talk about, is connecting your objectives for the course with some of your assignments. And you can do that through these rubrics.
Okay. Yes, I should probably do that.
Mhm. So if you go to outcomes within your course,
Okay.
you have the ability to be able to create your overall outcomes
Okay.
for the course. Just go up here to create. And then you can copy and paste that from your syllabus. Hey, there's John. And you can, if you want to, change the proficiency rating. I usually don't mess with that, but you could if you wanted to.
Okay.
And then once those outcomes are created at the course level, let me go back here. Bear with me for just a second. Hey, John, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. I will backtrack a little bit. Right now, we are going through outcomes and connecting them to rubrics. How familiar are you with that?
Vaguely, I think you and I had walked through that a little bit earlier in the year or last year.
Yep. So you would just, after your outcome is created, you would find that outcome over here, and it's just plug and play.
Okay.
After the
And then
rubric
Well,
is,
probably isn't as involved and time consuming as I was thinking when I just started making my own.
well, if you do get stuck, you know, I'm happy to be able to help you through any questions that you may have. But yeah, it's really not too complicated.
Okay.
Yep. John, do you want me to backtrack a little bit on that?
no, that's okay. You were just saying that after you create a rubric, you can then tag that to a specific outcome that you have in your, that you've already put in your class, your course.
Yep. And
Okay.
then on the gradebook side of things, the last portion of this is you have a learning mastery gradebook. And you can see my sample student here. Once you have outcomes that are connected to your content, you can export out a report here to be able to see if students exceeded the expectations, met it, or are near, as you can see over here on the right-hand side.
What does the 5/3 mean?
So 5 is the maximum total. I'll go back here because within the outcome settings, you can change that and it will probably make much more sense.
So is it like a backwards fraction?
Not exactly.
That doesn't seem to make sense to me either.
Okay, so mastery is
Okay.
at 3 and exceeding
Oh.
is 5.
Oh,
I
I
see.
see.
Yep, and you can change your averages here. I haven't played with that much either, but you could do that if you wanted to.
Okay.
So that is what those numbers mean.
Okay.
All right.